Been cooking for about 45 minutes, and when I pour it on the table right now, it's a little bit over 320 degrees. And as you can tell, it is mighty, mighty hot still. So we're just going to try to cool it down here a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of flavor and a little bit of color. In about 20 minutes, we'll be heading over to the table here, getting ready to pull out some candy canes. Glad you guys can make it. We're going to be making cinnamon flavored candy canes. So we're going to do three colors. We're going to do a red stripe, we're going to do a pink stripe, and we're also going to do a lavender stripe. And then, of course, the white part of the candy cane, which is the flavored part.
Oh, why is it only the white part is flavored?
Well, two reasons. Number one, we're going to mix in the flavor. So in order for me to flavor the whole thing, what really mixes it in is once you add the flavor, we'll see as we turn it white, that's when it kind of mixes in the flavor the best way. So if we added flavor to all the stripe, it wouldn't really get a nice mix in on the flavor. So you get some really hot and cold spots where you wouldn't get as much flavor or too much flavor.
Oh, okay.
And you'll notice in a minute here how that happens. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now I also do haircuts if anybody needs a trim. Happy to help out. All right, I can help out. I only do one style I know how to do is the bald look. Because bald is beautiful, at least that's what I think because I'm bald. So. All right, so we're going to divide this into a couple pieces here. We're going to start out with our darkest stripe first, which will be our red stripe. So I'm going to pull a little section out, and we'll add some color to it. Then next we'll do our lavender stripe, and then last but not least we'll do our pink stripe. All right, so I'm going to separate just a little bit out here so we can start with our red stripe. We always try to start with the darkest colors first.
Okay.
Only because you have to generally add a little bit more color to it to make it change color. So that's why we start out with the darkest color first. So that's going to be the red stripe there. So we're going to add a little color to it here. Now we're going to use what we call a gel or a paste-based color, and all that means it is not a water-based color. If you use a water-based color, it can kind of dissolve the sugar and make it a little bit sticky. And we don't want that, so we're just using a gel or a paste-based color here. Remember, no flavor at all, this is just the color only here. Just going to make sure the color gets all mixed in here. Next we're going to do our lavender stripe here. All right, so here's the red all mixed in. So I'm going to take this over to the table here behind us, and hopefully somebody will come out of the back room and keep it nice and warm for us.
How do they do that?
Well, I'm going to call them out. Hopefully I'll yell and they'll come out, and I'll make fun of them or something. But no, we're just going to keep it warm in front of the heater here. I'll show you in just a second. So there's the red all mixed in. It's still very, very warm at this point. So we'll cut off a little piece here to do our lavender stripe. Once again, we're going to use that gel paste color. No flavor at all, just the color only here. We'll start out with a little bit of pink and a little bit of lavender. That, mix that all in, just like we did the red stripe. It looks like a dark color, but hopefully this will be lavender by the time we get it over there. And there's our lavender all mixed in, so I'll take that over the table. Let him keep that one nice and warm for us. Next we're going to do our pink stripe here. Mix that in just like we did the other two. So it does get kind of cool right away. That's why it doesn't want to mix in as well. And that's part of the reason we don't add flavor to the smaller pieces, just the larger piece here, because it just wouldn't want to mix in very well. And also by the time you mix in the flavor, it cools down a little bit, so it can make it a little bit harder to mix in the colors. I'm just going to fold this in here a little bit. All right, we'll take that over the table and let him keep that one nice and warm. So remember when I put it on the table just a few minutes ago, it was over 320 degrees. Now it has cooled down quite a bit, but it is still very, very warm. Let's take a little reading here and see where we stand. We're at 181 degrees there still, so you can see it's still very, very warm at 181 degrees. Now we're going to add a little flavor here now. I'm going to add about 1/3 of an ounce here A little more than a quarter ounce, a little less than a half ounce. Just like that. And we'll mix that in just like we did the color. And then in just a minute here, we'll show you how we're gonna turn it white. Now the process of turning it white is also mixing the flavor a little bit, and that's why we only add the flavor to the white part. And you'll see that here in just a minute. See the flavor right there and a little bubble there. Just gonna try to keep that in the center there. This is the part of the job where I feel very needed. Feels nice to be needed, right? All right, we're gonna take it over the hook here and begin to stretch it out, and this is how we're gonna turn the candy cane nice and white. Very similar to the way you might whip egg whites at home, or how when you stretch out a rubber band, how the color lines up a little bit. And you can get an idea, this is how it also mixes the flavor in too. Just gonna keep stretching it out here. And you'll notice with each and every pull it gets a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter, or in my case a little bit heavier and a little bit heavier. Now the whole batch is a little bit over 20 pounds total weight. I've got about 16 pounds here on the hook with the white part of the cane. And Sam's got about 2 pounds apiece between the colors over there, keeping them nice and warm for us. So probably closer to 15 pounds I have here on the hook. A few more pulls here, then we'll take it over the table, show you how we put it all together. Now here's our big pink stripe. We're going to stretch out a bit. Got my red stripe stretched out a bit. And the lavender stripe. All right, so we're going to start out with the red stripe here tonight. Thank you, Sam. Remember, they're both still very, very warm, so we're just going to add it right to the block here. It should stick right on the top of that, so just like that. There's our red stripe. And on this other side here, we're going to put our big pink stripe. Should check that out a bit. Leaving a little bit of room for white right there. A white stripe there. Then on the opposite side here, we're going to put our lavender stripe. Stretch that one out a bit. We're going to put that one right there on this side of the block. Leaving a little bit of room for white there. So there's our red and pink stripe on that side there. Here's our red and pink stripe. And on this side we also have our lavender stripe. Anybody out there bowl? Any bowlers? We'll take that down the lanes and try to knock that down. How about any baseball fans? Maybe a big giant candy cane baseball bat. Now use your imagination. If I had the 5 stripes like we talked about earlier, I'd give you a little guitar riff. But not very effective without the stripes, right? Or how about this here? A big giant fish or a whale with the candy cane tail. Of course, it just looks like a big giant candy cane to me. Now we're going to stretch that out and cut that off. Now the reason we cut that off is we want to go right into a nice stripe there. We don't want to have to fight through that beginning piece. But we also don't want to waste that piece because that's a very large piece. So we're going to do what I like to call here stuff of the turkey. We're going to open up the back end a little bit. We're going to put that right in the back end here. That way it'll pull out towards the end of the batch, kind of in the center of the batch there. Little candy maker secret there. That way nothing goes to waste right there. Of course, I just gave it all away. No longer a secret, I guess, right? So if you watch here carefully, I'm just going to begin to pull this out here. Give it a little pull. Give it a little tug. Give it a little stretch. When we get it just the right length and thickness, we're going to give it a little twist. And right before your very eyes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have created the candy cane. Here we go. I was going to cut it with that one. Here we go. A little cut, a little roll, and a little bend on the other end. Let's all give a big round of applause for candy cane number 1 right there. There it is, candy cane number 1. We're done. We'll fill up this entire table and make pretty close to 400 candy canes this size out of this one batch. Pretty good. Can you taste that cinnamon? It does. Remember, there's no flavor in the red, but the color, but the white. But you get flavor pretty much immediately.
That's a lot too.